I've received interesting question about powering Raspberry Pi using power delivery. My viewer asked me if he can use 5 volts 5 amps power delivery to power his Raspberry Pi. And this is an interesting topic, but a little bit complicated. So I've decided to make this video explaining if it is possible, and I will show 3 different ways how you may achieve that. So let's start directly related to the question. We were asked about power delivery. So I have right here a good USB-C charger that supports power delivery. But there is one important thing. Many power delivery chargers at 5 volts support only 3 amps. On the bottom or on the side of your charger you have information at what voltages, what current you can get. And most of the power delivery chargers at 5 volts support only 3 amps. But there exist power delivery chargers that support at 5 volts 5 amps, but they are quite rare and you have specially searched for them. Most of the chargers support only 3 amps at 5 volts. So you have to be really careful when buying power delivery charger if you want 5 amps at 5 volts, because this is a rare thing. But it exists and it is possible. But even then, it's not that simple. If you have a power delivery charger that supports 5 volts 5 amps, you cannot use any random USB-C cable, because then the charger will limit current only to 3 amps, even if it supports 5 amps. You need a good USB-C cable that has e-marker built in. This e-marker is a thing that communicates with the charger and tells that I am a cable that I support 5 amps, give me up to 5 amps. If the charger don't receive confirmation that the cable can pass through 5 amps, it will only give it 3 amps. So you need a good USB-C cable that has built-in e-marker. Then with a good power delivery charger and good USB-C cable, it may be possible to power Raspberry Pi with 5 volts 5 amps. But there is one more thing: voltage drop. Even if you support 5 volts 5 amps, when the voltage gets to the device, it may be too low. I will show you example with 5 volts 3 amps, because I have that thing available right now, and you will see what I mean. For this example, I will use 2 high quality USB-C cables. One is around 1 meter long and the second one is around 1.2 meters long, so around 2.2 meters long. I will show you why I need 2 cables. I have a USB tester right here. I will connect the USB-C input. You can see protocols. I have 5 volts 3 amps. And right here I have a receiver, and this cable I will connect one end to the USB-C output and second end to the input of this tester. Now I've selected 5 volts 3 amps. On the tester you can see that the input is 5.2 almost volts. Raspberry Pi supports 5 volts plus minus 5%, so between 4.75 up to 5.25. Let's turn on this receiver. Voltage dropped to 4.92. Let's increase the current to 2 amps. 4.68. Now the voltage is too low for the Raspberry Pi to work. And if I go even higher to 3 amps, I receive only 4.4 volts. Even if my power delivery charger supports 5 volts 3 amps and I use high quality cables 2.2 meters long in total, at the output I receive only 4.45 volts, which is too low for the Raspberry Pi to work. So even if you would have 5 volts 5 amps power delivery and charger and good USB-C cable, still on the output you may get too low voltage. You would need a high quality, really short USB-C cable, so it would have low resistance and the voltage at the output would be correct. So With a good charger, good cable, in theory it should be possible to power Raspberry Pi this method. So this is the first option. The second option, chargers that have power delivery sometimes also has PPS. The charger that I have right now has PPS between 3.3 volts up to 21 volts at 5 amps. Not every charger with power delivery has PPS, and not every PPS is up to 5 amps. Sometimes it is only for up to 3 amps, but in my example it is up to 5 amps. So with my charger I can switch the protocol. It is important to disconnect the output cable because you can see right now I've gave 15 volts on the output, so I could fry my Raspberry Pi if I would change the settings with connected Raspberry Pi. And now I switch to this PPS mode, and here I can precisely set what voltage do I want to receive. And here I can set 5 volts, and now I have available 5 amps. So in theory, now we have 5 volts, 5 amps output, but now we go again to the resistance. Let's turn on the output, and if I will go to the 5 amps, at the output I have 3.9 volts only. I can right here make the output voltage bigger. I connected the micro USB cable to the wrong port, and the important thing is this micro USB cable. It should be connected to this PC port to only power the device and don't interrupt with the input and output of the power, because when it switches protocols it may lose power from the power source, so it needs independent power source. Now when I correctly connected all the cables, you can see I have 5 volts, 5 amps, and at the output I have 3.5 volts only. And I could in theory increase the input voltage or the output voltage from the charger, and when I increase it, now I have 5 volts right here. But still there is a problem. If the Raspberry Pi would use less power suddenly, let's drop to 1 amp, we have 6.2 volts now. So now the voltage is too big and could destroy the Raspberry Pi. So PPS is another option that in theory we could select the correct voltage and correct current for a Raspberry Pi, but we would need really short, really high quality cables with really low resistance. So the input voltage and output voltage would be in the correct range, independently of the current that the Raspberry Pi would use, because as you can see, now with 1 amp I have 6.2 volts, and when suddenly I use 5 amps I have 5.0 volts. So the voltage changes dependently of the current that is used by the device. And there is third option. You can buy 5 volts, 5 amps charger with a built-in USB-C cable. The one that I have right here is only an example. It only supports 3 amps, but there should exist chargers like this that supports up to 5 amps. And this should be the safest option, because you don't need any additional devices to trigger the correct voltage, and the manufacturer should use high quality built-in cable that the voltage on the output should be correct one and not too low, not too high, independently of the current. So I think this is the simplest and the cheapest option to find a charger with built-in USB-C cable that supports 5 volts, 5 amps, because the power delivery and PPS options in theory are possible, but you need short, good cables, and for PPS you even need to buy additional device like this USB-C tester. That is not a cheap device, so I think it would be much more expensive this way. If you know good chargers that support 5 volts, 5 amps, you can write their names in the comments. And I think that's all about using power delivery to support Raspberry Pi. In theory it is possible, but in reality it is quite hard. I will give you in the description a few links to the AliExpress, for example for this USB tester, or if I will find interesting charger I will also give a link for it in the description. And that's all for today. Like, subscribe and be nice.